I'd like to welcome everybody out here today and thank you very much for attending. Hopefully this session will be educational for as many of you as possible. Let's start with telling you a little bit about Johnson Controls. So since 1885, Johnson Controls has worked to enhance the intelligence of buildings. Ultimately, it's about us keeping people safe and buildings healthy and people healthy. We operate in more than 150 countries with a global set of partners. Johnson Controls uses the latest in technology to integrate our products and our services into comprehensive and holistic solutions, including our connected OpenBlue suite. Now let me also tell you a little bit about me. So my name is Greg Parker. I live near Birmingham, Alabama. I went to school at Auburn. So how many War Eagles do we have? Probably none. War Eagle, I'm going to say it. War Eagle. And when I think about being in the security business, it's very motivational for me because the decisions that I may make or the activities that I get involved with, it could be directly or indirectly, ultimately can save a person's life. And I'm sure you all have that same motivation. And sometimes it's more than just saving someone's life. It's also about the environment. Am I healthy? Do I have peace of mind? So that's what motivates me in being in this business. And I'm sure it also motivates all of you because these things for people like us matter. So let's take a look at where security professionals stand today. In a survey that was done roughly a year ago, 69% say that physical security is mission critical. Now you can say, hey, that's 69%. Of course. What concerns me is 31% must say that it's not. Also, 50% or so also say that they've invested in video analytics. You'll see a lot of that on the show floor. And 52% say they're investing in access control. The number I wanted to hone in on is 94% of the respondents in this survey said that they have plans to deploy cloud or hybrid cloud solutions. 94% seemed like a very big number to me, so I actually did my own little research on Google. And ironically enough, when I typed it in and I started reading, 94% consistently showed up. We also have some data that says that 30% of all IT budgets are allocated to cloud computing. So here we have IT budgets that are 30%, yet 94% intend to invest in this area. So what does that tell you? Change is happening fast. If my budget today is allocated toward cloud, I intend for it to be more allocated toward cloud or a hybrid cloud environment in the future. Again, you guys probably know this, but look around on the show floor and you'll see it abundant everywhere. But these cloud applications are gaining momentum. And as they do, this is going to provide businesses more flexibility. And when we think of that flexibility, the capability to enable additional hardware choices, these video analytics that shows up here in the survey as well. So much more is enabled by a cloud or a hybrid cloud environment. Over the past few years, we've seen a shift from forensics to prevention. So what does that really mean? It's about reactive responses going toward proactive responses. Many of us live this, right? We're probably all working toward how do we become more proactive. As I think about this, buildings that house patients, they house students, parents, employees, customers, cheering fans, All of these places need to be able to handle and understand threats before the attack happens. What about the World Congress Center? It's another good place. Mercedes-Benz Stadium next door. You have to become more proactive. As we think about how we go there on this journey, rather than reacting to the risk, now is the time when us building leaders must think of security solutions in this more proactive way. Now, there's various degrees of being proactive. And one key point of the equation here is not only can we say, hey, we need to be proactive, we have to make it easy. So there's where the sweet spot is. We got to be prepared to seek an easy access solutions that guide security teams very clearly. And then integrated security solutions are then put in place to help these organizations to understand how their alerts are for specific behaviors and locations. So think about rules engines. Think about all of these things and these analytics and tying these things together. In a moment, we're going to talk a little bit more about end-to-end solutions. But again, enabled by the cloud, enabled by the journey from reactive to proactive, and we're just going to see more of that. We're going to see much more of that. And again, another thing that I really love about the security industry, and I'm a geek, but what I really love about it is the technology changes all the time. And that's fun, and it's also a headache for many of us. And when we think of the change is happening so fast, and you have to design for what does the customer want, what's on the frontier, and then take that all the way down to how do I install it, how do I service it, and then by the time you get that figured out, there's a whole new technology right around the bend. But I tell you, I still enjoy it. So what are some of the outcomes of proactive risk management and response? In the middle, it really speaks more to the how. Regularly scheduled maintenance going towards solutions with stakeholders in mind. In the past, we talked a lot about you've got to be proactive in your maintenance schedule. That's what's going to keep all of your access control, your cameras, functioning properly. You've got to have a good maintenance plan. That still absolutely holds true. However, we're now moving into a new era where we can do a lot of these things remotely. We can check in, we can communicate with these cameras, with these access control systems. We can see how they operate across multiple different suppliers. So when we think about these regularly scheduled maintenance, this new technology continues to move in that direction. Another thing is, let's say an event happens. An event has actually happened, right? Some unfortunate event. Mass communication becomes really important. At this stage, I'm still being proactive. Why? Because every second counts. And if every second counts, and every second my decision, my ability to communicate, my ability to maybe shut things down or lock things in or whatever I need to do, communicate with the authorities, is going to matter. So designing for seconds also becomes very important. The list of opportunities will go on and on. Those are just a few examples, but what's key is designing for the unique needs of that application, those customer needs, and what type of customer they are, really understanding that customer experience so that when you can try to bring solutions to them, you're understanding what is the biggest pain points for those customers, and then design that unique end-to-end experience to enable them. We've talked a bit about some shifts in the market. I've already mentioned from forensics to prevention. But recently, Johnson Controls did a study, and we identified there are 6 shifts happening in the market. Entry to occupancy. At one time we cared about, can people get in the building? Can they exit the building? We still care about that, but now we also care about what is happening inside that building. What does the occupancy look like? Can I track the people movement, the flow, all those sorts of things? Then from buildings to people, we talk a lot about buildings, but creating that healthy environment for people is another shift that's happening in the market. Cutting edge to good enough. Many times, and I'm an engineer at heart as well, right? We want to go for the most cutting edge technology. But we have to keep in mind that good enough may be where it's at. And then lastly, from stuff to service, and from independent to integrated. We talk a lot about integrations. We at Johnson Controls, we're an integrator. This creates value, and the more integrations across various disparate systems, again, brings value to that customer, and it also enables the capability to bring in additional insights. So when we think about the big data and the ability to make sense of that big data and then provide it directly to a customer, that creates value. It also creates business intelligence for that customer. As we thought about what are some best practices when we consider integrating into one solution, and I'm sure you have all heard the words end-to-end solution used more than once. It's very similar to single pane of glass. We hear that a lot. But what does that mean to you? What does an end-to-end solution mean to you as a customer? What is your end-to-end solution? So what I've highlighted here are just a few examples. It's not going to apply to every single customer, but these are some that actually have come up more often than not. So for example, when we think of end-to-end solutions, we think of business intelligence services. So now it goes beyond keeping people safe. It's how can you leverage all the data that you're collecting and the sensors around my property to help me run my business. You'll see some of that on the show floor. Also the ability to create customized visibility. Not all customers want to see things exactly the same way. So being able to create these reports, being able to push the information to them in a way that makes sense for the customer. Again, go back and think about ease of use. End-to-end solution for the customer. These create enhanced customer experiences. So if I'm really able to hone in on the sweet spot for those customers, then that's certainly going to enhance their experience. And then risk management as a service. Now this can take shape in a variety of forms. So risk management as a service, the way we would think about it is, hey, we can see all of your cameras, we can see all of your access control, we can tell that perhaps one camera is offline, another may be blurry. And so we can identify that, correct it remotely, and then sometimes not even have to roll a truck. If we do need to roll a truck, then that technician is going to be empowered by actually knowing what he or she is going to have to do when they show up. So I've got a short video. This is from the home of the Milwaukee Bucks, and then I have a couple of comments after we watch the video.
And ladies and gentlemen, the 2021 NBA champions, your Milwaukee Bucks.
So we use Johnson Controls as a default on planning, on strategy, as well as an execution partner to really think about how we are going to affect everything from our environment to our fire systems to our technology in the arena of which we depend on JCI. I think it's our conservation, our sustainability, and really how to run a cleaner business. I think the largest lesson was navigating a pandemic, which you never thought you'd do, is how quickly we could pivot, how flexible we could be for something that was so fluid, how we can leverage our partners like Johnson Controls, how we can really leverage their experience in health and safety, both internally for our staff to start with and then externally as we started to receive customers again. We want to create a destination, everything from how do we efficiently service the customer, how do we create a really safe and free environment. It's really about efficiency, best practices, and how do we use those two to kind of affect and create a better experience.
So we like to call that proactive security in action at Fiserv Forum in Milwaukee. And Fiserv, the story behind this is the Fiserv Forum wanted an innovative solutions, plural, with a partner who could fill their multiple and complex unmet needs. So they called on us at Johnson Controls. We were assigned the single point of responsibility to manage the planning, the design assist, the implementation, the integration, the commissioning and the service of the technology system, the building applications and the supporting infrastructure. And this is what we think of as when we consider a holistic solution. But again, it's a holistic solution for Fiserv Forum. We have other holistic solutions or end-to-end solutions depending on the type of customer that it is. Now you may recall in 2021, the Milwaukee Bucks won the NBA championship. I like to think Johnson Controls had something to do with that, and you'd say, how's that? Well, consider this. We created a safe, peace of mind environment for the players, for the cheering fans, and maybe just a little less stressed, not having to worry about all those sorts of things, so you can just go play ball and enable yourself, led its way to a championship. So we're all a part of this. When we think about the future of digitalization, we look into the crystal ball a little bit, which is very hard to do. Because when we look into a crystal ball in security, right, it's a very cloudy crystal ball. Things are changing all the time. But there's certainly some things that we can ground ourselves upon. It's a connected, an automated, and a digital world. We're already seeing it. It's only going to go further down the road on that journey. I mentioned a moment ago about outcomes with peace of mind. So when we create peace of mind, we're creating the peace of mind knowing that, hey, we're in a secure environment, but I'm also in a healthy space. I know how I can navigate around the space that I'm in, which ultimately points back to peace of mind as well. And having that safety or that security always on brings about customer satisfaction. And as I mentioned a couple times before, efficient operations, and these efficient operations create value for our customers by providing that business intelligence to them as well. There are a handful of other outcomes and things that we see happening in the future. For example, the assets that customers have will become even more strategic. So when we think of these assets, we're thinking about, right, the access control system, the video, the burglar alarm systems, the communication systems that they have in place. Whereas in the past, these were considered more of an expense to companies and our customers, they're becoming more and more, day by day, a strategic asset. We also see some trends around IT and OT convergence. Many of you probably heard about this, but it is absolutely happening. It's happening with our customers and how they organize themselves. Who's making the decisions around physical security versus IT security? We're finding that many times that's becoming the same person. Customer experience will become a critical part of this. You've probably seen it woven throughout the presentation, but when we think of end-to-end experiences, this is where it's going to be a differentiator not only for suppliers of product and technologies, but those who are supplying the services as well. That customer experience piece and who can do it the best will be what matters. And then overall, being able to leverage the power of this big data that's out there. Again, we mentioned the sensors exist everywhere. How do we take this information and tee it up for our customers in a way that they can all leverage it? Thank you all for coming.